Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, professional astrologer, psychic, and healer. In today's episode, my guest is Dr. Gary Gomes, a very well-known and expert Jyotisha or Vedic astrologer. So stay tuned and see what he has to say. Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. In today's episode, I'm excited to announce my guest, Dr. Gary Gomes. Dr. Gary Gomes has an MBA and he also has a doctorate in education. He has quite the vast CV with Jyotish, Vedic Astrologer. He's a very well-known and published Vedic astrologer. Gary started his study of Jyotish in 1990, started writing about Jyotisha in 1983, and has been published in the American Council for Vedic Astrology Journal, the British Association of Vedic Astrology, NCGR special editions, Mountain Astrologer, and several Indian magazines, including Express Star Teller and the Astrological eMagazine. He has also served as editor and managing publisher of the Council of Vedic Astrology Journal. He served on the American College of Vedic Astrology board between 1997 and 2003. He was elected vice president of the Council of Vedic Astrology in 2004 and president of the Council of Vedic Astrology in 2007. Gary is also a Swami of the Kriya Yoga lineage and a Reiki master. He was recognized for his contributions to Gemini astrology by the Bharat Vidya Bhavan in India and has written on Jyotish in publications available from every continent except Antarctica. He is also writing a book on Jyotisha, which is actually the science of light, and he can tell us a little bit more about that. He has also served as a professor and vice president of Kepler College from 2007, and he has been teaching at the American Council of Vedic Astrology from 2004 to the present, and has served as the assistant dean for academics for American Council of Vedic Astrology and was a professor and vice president of Kepler College, a higher educational institution dedicated to teaching astrology. He is currently in the process of developing the Great International School of Astrology, dedicated to teaching astrology in several languages around the world. He has astrology students in many countries and is awarded the titles of Jyotisha Vaskaspati, Jyotisha Kovid by Council of Vedic Astrology, and Indian Council of Astrological Sciences. And he was honored as a Jyotisha Chudamani in astrology from India. I'm so excited to have my guest, Gary Gomes, today. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you very much, Joe. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I'm going to give my listeners a side note. Gary is also my Vedic astrology. So I've been honored throughout the years to get readings with him. And if listeners want to get a reading with Gary Gomes, Dr. Gary Gomes, they can contact him at 508-990-7898 or crystalexpectations@comcast.net is his email. I will have this contact information for Dr. Gary Gomes in the liner notes, in the show notes. So Gary, we were talking about this time period and Vedic astrology, and maybe you even want to tell my listeners the difference between Jyotisha, the science of light, and Vedic astrology, and the Western astrology, which is what I've been doing for over 30 years.
Sure, Joe. Vedic astrology or Jyotisha, some people don't like the term Vedic astrology. It's just an internal dispute, but some people like it, and so we use it as a shorthand technique. Essentially, it's astrology that comes from India, as you know, and basically the major similarities. I want to go over the major similarities first. Number one, we use most of the same planets that Western astrology does, and all the same signs that Western astrology does.
Right.
The differences are really in the zodiac we use. And Vedic astrology uses what's called a sidereal or a star-based zodiac. So it essentially tracks the constellations that they made for the sky. So people have heard of I like to use the example, people have heard of the H. Boreas. Well, that's a real thing.
Right.
Essentially, there is a slight wobble in the Earth's axis that so the Indians call the tropical zodiac. The Western astrology uses a sign of zodiac, which means it's oriented towards the sun and seasons.
Okay, let me just say that. So in Western astrology, we call it the tropical. And why is that again? Because some people don't even know why it's called tropical.
Well, it's tropical because it's based around the orientation of the tropic points, Cancer and Capricorn,
Okay.
and how they lean towards and away from the sun, crossing the seasons. Actually, the only star that has anything to do with it is the sun.
Okay.
It's the sun's orientation.
So it's like it's almost like a solar based system. And then you were saying about sidereal, or the system that's used in Jyotisha and Vedic is different because it is based on the stars, and it's based on the constellations.
Yeah, it's based on where the constellations actually are in the sky at the current time. So there's because of this slight wobble in the Earth's axis, don't worry, nobody's going to fall off the Earth. Because of the slight wobble in the Earth's axis, which goes around a little bit less than 1 degree every 100 years, the two zodiacs have been shifting out of sync slowly but surely. And they always happen. So you can find some old Jyotish texts which have the star of spring in a constellation called Kritika.
Yes.
And Kritika is at the end of Aries and the beginning of Taurus.
Okay.
So essentially, right now the actual beginning of spring rests somewhere in Pisces, in the Pisces constellation.
Oh, okay.
So essentially, there's about a 23-degree difference between a Western horoscope and an Eastern horoscope.
Right, 23 degrees approximately difference. So like if somebody, like I'm actually a January Aquarius, the end of January, but I would be a Capricorn in the Vedic system, right?
Yep, exactly. And depending on where your planets are in the sky, they can end up in different signs if they were relatively far along, like let's say more than 23 or 24 degrees, they'll be within the same sign.
Right. So I tell my clients, if they're born like say the from the 14th of the month on, they're going to be, let's say somebody's born the July 14th of July, they're going to be Cancerian in both systems, right? So if you're born after the 14th, let's say the end of the Cancer in the West, you're Cancer in both systems. What I've noticed, Gary, too, when we combine this, I work with both systems. I mean, obviously, I don't have the years of experience of you do with Jyotisha, but what I noticed just being a Western astrologer for so long, incorporating the Vedic, is that okay, so let's say somebody is, got strong Aquarius, Capricorn in the West, they're going to still have those signs are still showing up pretty strong. I've noticed there seems to be a signature where certain signs are strong in both systems for somebody. It's just the planets are different that are placed there.
Mm-hmm. And that's been my experience as well. So let's say I can use my own example. I was born October 1st in Western astrology, so that puts my sun squarely in Libra.
Right.
In Vedic astrology, it goes back to Virgo, but my rising sign changes from Scorpio to Libra in Vedic astrology. So there's little substantial difference.
Right.
I think it's more of an emotional thing that people really get into. Like they've identified for a long time as being either a Libra or a Leo or a Scorpio or an Aries, and then all of a sudden they get told they're a different sign. But
Westerners don't like that. I know they don't like that when I've told people, you're not an Aquarius, you're a Capricorn. What? I don't want to be a Capricorn.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I want you to clarify for our listeners is the fact that the planets used in the Vedic are the Sun, Moon, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. So the first, who am I missing? 7 planets.
Oh, Rahu and Ketu.
Yeah, that's but the same 7 planets of Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn. And then, yes, that's what I wanted you to, and then the nodes of the moon are much more important in Vedic astrology than a lot of Western astrologies use the node. I mean, I always use the nodes as very important as far as the soul evolutionary axis in Western, but tell our listeners a little bit about the importance of Rahu and Ketu in the Vedic astrology, and that will segue us to our next segment about how they're involved in the eclipses. But before we take a little break, can you tell our listeners a little bit about the importance of Rahu and Ketu in Vedic astrology?
Oh, sure. I mean, Rahu and Ketu. I also want to mention just quickly that there are major planetary periods in Vedic astrology, which are judged by where your moon is at birth. So you're under the influence of a planet for a significant amount of time in your lifetime. So that's another big difference.
Right.
But also Rahu and Ketu are essentially the north and south lunar nodes are really responsible for some Vedic astrologers do find a need to use Pluto and Uranus and Neptune, but in the Vedic system, Rahu and Ketu tend to assume a lot of the work that those planets do. Number
Right.
one. Number two, Rahu gives a lot of craving in a chart. It's essentially a decapitated head of a demon who gained the elixir of immortality at the time the planets did.
Right. Rahu is the head of the demon, decapitated.
And Ketu's the tail. And the way they explain that is essentially Rahu is essentially unfulfilled desires. So those are things that you kind of reach for and you can grab, but you can't feel fully comfortable or fully happy having. Ketu are things that you're actually reaching fulfillment in, and Ketu is connected with spirituality or liberation. But again, they're much more complicated than that. And Ketu is also very disruptive as regards the thief. Rahu grabs things, Ketu steals things.
Yeah.
So Ketu has kind of a disruptive power over earthquakes like Neptune and Pluto have in Western astrology.
Right.
Earthquakes are natural catastrophes. Rahu has to do with more materialistic aspects, and it has to do with revolutions and uprisings and things
Right.
like that.
I mean, I like the way you explain it too, that Rahu tends to be more about the material plane and like being here on the material plane, and that makes people grasp. Where Ketu is a significator of moksha or liberation. So it ends up being more spiritual. But it's like Neptune, like you said, it's very Neptunian. It can dissolve things, and it can make for addictions as well, like Neptune can in Western.
Exactly. And Ketu also rules, Rahu and Ketu also rule over what we would call compulsive behaviors or habitual behaviors. So that's where the addiction also comes in.
Yes.
So essentially, if Rahu is there and is strong in a chart, the person will want more of that thing that they perhaps were denied in a previous lifetime, or perhaps got too used to in a previous lifetime. So there's a strong linkage. I know there's a linkage with reincarnation in some forms of Western astrology, not 100%, but in most forms.
Well, in the way I do readings, I link the South Node to the past lives, and then 12th house planets sometimes are past life indicators, and any planet that's conjunct the South Node or Ketu is past life indicator in Western astrology.
And that makes extraordinary sense, but essentially without Rahu or Ketu, we probably wouldn't be here again. It would just be
right. It keeps they keep
once doing done.
They keep they keep bringing us back into incarnation. So we're going to take a break. When we come back, Dr. Gary Gomes, my guest, well-known Vedic astrologer, Jyotisha, will talk about eclipses and how Rahu and Ketu are indicators and involved in eclipse patterns and what we can expect in 2020, the second half of 2020, from the fallout of eclipse. So stay tuned. Hey listeners, I know your mind might be blown because you thought you were an Aquarian and you just found out in the Vedic system that you're actually a Capricorn. So muse on this for a while as you grab a glass of Scout and Cellar clean crafted wine. Scout and Cellar is always free of pesticides, fillers, chemical additives, and sweeteners. Try this delicious pure wine straight from the grape to your glass at scoutandcellar.com/Jill Jardine. Welcome back. My guest is Dr. Gary Gomes, and we were talking about Rahu and Ketu, the North and South Node of the moon in Vedic astrology and how they are implicated in eclipse patterns. And in 2020, the summer of 2020, June and July, we've been in an intense eclipse pattern. And Gary, I'd like to hear your input on this from the Vedic perspective.
Well, we've had a lot of what I would call high drama since last March, basically.
March 2018? I mean 2019?
March 2019, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was when Rahu and Gemini entered Gemini and Sagittarius respectively. Now that essentially is a change agent. So you have two eclipse partners entering Rahu, where Rahu feels really comfortable, and Sagittarius where Ketu feels really comfortable. So it feels like it can actually do a lot of stuff that it wouldn't do otherwise.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that happened though was around December this past year. There was a really potent conjunction around the December 26th eclipse.
Right.
And we spoke about that in another conversation we had. And there was another one around January 10th, and there was a pattern around March 4th that was very similar to the pattern that happened around the 9/11 bombings.
Right.
So essentially, something was bound to happen around that time. It would be naive to assume nothing would happen around that time. But right now we have the eclipse in. So the last lunar eclipse wasn't in these two signs. It was in Scorpio and Taurus.
Okay.
Okay. So
you mean the one on June 5th? The one on June 5th?
Yeah.
Right. 2020
5th, yeah.
was in different signs in the Vedic, as well as in the West. I mean, in the West, it was different signs.
And in my opinion, that was a relatively minor lunar eclipse. And lunars tend not to be as troublesome as solars do, at least from my experience.
Oh, really? I kind of felt the other way around. Like in Western, it's like the lunars are more potent because they're full moons, where the solars are like, not as, but it's interesting. The Vedic, it's reverse. Solars are more intense. Okay.
Well, essentially the solars will change. I mean, the heating source, the solars affect the sun directly. Okay, it's Ketu, and Ketu takes things away. Ketu takes.
Oh, right.
So, okay.
Ketu's the thief.
Ketu's a thief. And it's going to depend on a lot of factors as well. But the lunars will also tend to cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of worry because Rahu affects the moon. Rahu. So it's going to make us much more anxious.
Right.
All right. So essentially, I think it depends on your perspective as to whether or not they're going to be more damaging in terms of which one is more damaging.
Right.
So let's say if you have a lunar eclipse like this one, which is in a relatively potent sign, okay, but it's also, but I think the countervailing thing of this is we have Jupiter in the same sign as the lunar eclipse in Vedic astrology.
Okay.
So this is a little bit of a softening pattern.
Oh, you think? Oh, so Jupiter's going to mitigate this July 5th eclipse?
Yeah.
Okay.
I really do believe that, because now again, what it will do, and this is the downside, is it'll spread the coronavirus a little more rapidly because Jupiter expands.
Oh, wow. So this is, and we're seeing this heading into this eclipse.
Yeah. It's an expansive planet, but it'll also speed a cure up much more quickly.
Speed up a cure. Yeah. Excellent.
Okay.
Right. Speaking. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of that, what, as what might be some fallout, or, I mean, I know you're going to be getting to that. What might we have to look forward to in the rest of July, August, September, October, November, December of 2020 as a result? Because then we don't get into another eclipse pattern, right, until November 30th and December 14th. Right. So it's basically what I think my listeners know, since I already did 2 shows. I've done 2 shows on explaining eclipses. But the point is that it is the 6 months between, but it's actually 3 months when things peak, right? And same in the Vedic? Yeah.
Well, some Vedic astrologers give it kind of an outlier influence of 9 months, which I think is a little bit extreme.
Oh, yeah, 9 months.
Because then you're never away from an eclipse.
Right. We're
So
always in
I
an
think
eclipse
that's,
pattern.
yeah. So, well, that may be literally true. I don't think it's figuratively true. I mean, this eclipse comes close to the United States rising sign.
Right.
Um,
And the natal sun, right? I mean, this one
yeah,
on the
I mean,
5th is happening in the West Coast. It's actually on July 4th, the day of the United
yeah,
States sun.
yep, yep. So I think you can expect to see, and Mars is aspecting this entire pattern right here, right? It's aspecting the sun, it's aspecting Mercury. So you'll see a lot of fiery rhetoric, and I would even say violence is actually already starting in certain
Right.
places across the country. So Seattle, they cleared out. I was watching on the news. They cleared out
The
the
CHOP.
free
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
The free zone in Seattle, and I think you're going to see that happening a lot more around the country
Okay.
over the next few weeks and over the summer months. And I can also remember the 1960s. This is dating me, but I am that old,
Oh. Fooled
and
me.
I can also remember one of the big causes of riots in the 1960s were the fact that you had a lot of youth who were unengaged and unemployed.
Right.
So, so what pattern we have right here? Well, we have a lot of youth who are unemployed because of a virus.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying, and the complaints in the 60s were legitimate. The complaints now are legitimate, but the outlet with a lot of downtime that allows people to get into more trouble.
Exactly.
And
So maybe when they
yeah,
have to go back to work, we'll see. There might be less
yeah,
riots. You had said something to
yeah,
me in my radio show, on my radio show when you were my guest, about there's going to be sort of another kind of protest wave coming at the end of August into early September.
yeah,
I mean, I think you said something about July may be okay, August, comparatively speaking, not as eruptive, although you also mentioned about earthquakes and other earth, anomalies. But you said we probably will have another kind of pop-up period of more protests at the end of August. What
yeah,
what what were you
yeah.
attributing that to?
And a lot of that I'm attributing to I'm attributing to Mars staying in Pisces for a while.
Right.
You know, so essentially, I'm looking at a map. So the places I've seen riots most likely occurring in the United States is a strong Venus line, like right through the Great Lakes and right down through Georgia and next to Florida.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
that part of the country looks particularly vulnerable. Venus is not badly placed by sign, but it's badly placed by house in this chart.
So you think
Um,
Georgia and Florida and like Michigan and
yeah,
places are there like that are going
yeah,
to have some problems?
yeah, yep, and also Central America.
Central.
Also, Brazil's going to have big problems.
Yeah, they're already
Um,
having the big problems with the
yeah,
virus.
yeah,
It's not being
yeah.
contained.
Yeah, but I think it'll turn to violence. I think it'll turn to even attempted government crackdown, certainly, but attempted government overthrows throughout South America.
Oh, wow.
And if I'm looking carefully, Southeast Africa
Yeah.
looks like it's in trouble.
That's also where the
And
solar eclipse ring of fire was visible.
yeah,
I feel like those
yeah,
places where it was visible, India, Tibet, Africa, they might have some problems too, right? After that solar eclipse on the
oh,
21st.
oh yeah, and China, and also between China and Japan and the Philippines, I would look for earthquakes. You know,
Pacific Rim, Ring of Fire,
yeah,
Pacific Rim, Ring of Fire.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
China,
yep,
Japan, Philippines.
and even down to Australia, you're going to have some problems as well.
So more
But
those are more earth related, China, Japan,
yeah,
Pacific
yep,
Rim eruptions,
yep,
right? Okay.
yep, yep.
Um,
So I think there's going to be a lot of negative activity. Also, mid Turkey, the middle of Turkey through Eastern Europe as well,
some
and
eruptions there.
Western Russia, and
Okay.
Western Russia.
Okay.
So those are trouble spots.
So a lot of earth changes, it sounds like, and uprisings of sorts. I want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
direct you over to two big questions that everybody has.
sure.
One is the economic trajectory going forward as a
Yeah,
result of the eclipse as well. And the second one is the trajectory of the coronavirus and possible remedies vaccines going forward. So I'd like to hear from Vedic Astrology your thoughts on those.
The perspective I've held for a long time about the economy is it's going to be a V or at the very least a check mark based recovery.
It's going to recover?
And we're already seeing the unemployment rate's already down from a high of around 17% to the figures we posted today is 11% today.
Okay. So you feel like the economy is going to come back? I think you said something about slow and steady. It's going to be coming back, and by that, what do you mean? The market, the employment?
I think both. I think by the fall you'll see us down to around the 6% unemployment rate, 6 to 7% unemployment rate.
So people will go back to work once they get off their pandemic unemployment.
Yep. I think that's going to happen. I also said to you on the radio show there's going to be a second stimulus bill, and that looks like it's moving forward already.
A second stimulus package, right? You said in August that might get released.
Yeah. Yep. And the other thing of it is the recovery will flatten out around November. It's not going to be down to the 3% levels it was at before the pandemic struck. It's not going to hit that level for another, I say, for about another year or so, year and a half or so. But it will come back.
Okay.
Fully by that time, and you're going to see significant recovery between now and November.
Of the economy and the markets, like stock market.
Astonishingly fast recovery.
Okay.
I also think you're going to see some kind of a cure or some kind of a package put together by late August at the latest.
For what?
For the coronavirus. I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear.
Okay, so you think that by late August, you were saying September on the radio show that there may be some level of cure or some kind of remedies, right, for coronavirus?
Late September for sure. But I think you're going to see a lot of progress made by August. And the spike we're seeing right now, I actually feel it's a temporary phenomenon. I don't think it's really connected with reopening the economy. I think it's connected with a lot of people just essentially not following safety protocols.
Right. So the expansion is not, And like you said, Jupiter expanding it, and you think it's temporary. You think by the end of the summer we might be out of this wave, I can travel out to Austin in August.
Yep, I think you can, Joe. This never looked to me like it was going to be a long-term problem. It's an epidemic. It's not really. It's not something that's going to go away quickly. But I don't think in terms of presenting a problem for the economy overall or for the nation overall, I don't think it's going to be that long-lived. I think they underestimated the death count, though. Unfortunately, that was the sad thing about it.
Right.
But basically, I don't think. The impression I'm getting, because the first thing that the news is covering, and the U.S. has a Rahu Mercury conjunction, so U.S. news tends to go towards bad news first.
Okay, so that's like so we can blame Rahu and Mercury for no news but bad news on the mainstream media. That's why we need podcasts like this, so they can get the real news, right? Okay, so let me just recap for our listeners. Do you hear that? Great news from Dr. Gary Gomes, according to Vedic Astrology, that we're going to see the coronavirus get a cure of sorts, remedies, cures, by the end of the summer into September, vaccine precursors by October. The economy is going to rally back. We're going to really see it come back by November of 2020. We don't have time for it in this podcast, but we're certainly going to have you back on Cosmic Scene, Dr. Gary Gomes. We'll talk about the politics of 2020 and the candidates and their charts and how that might also tie into the economy. So I want to say thank you to my guest today, Dr. Gary Gomes, Vedic Astrologer Extraordinaire, and you can be in touch with him by calling him or texting him at 508-990-7898. That's a landline, actually. And his email, crystalexpectations@comcast.net. Again, I'll have his contact info in the show notes. And I want to thank you, Gary, for being our guest on Cosmic Scene today.
All my pleasure, Joe. And I hope I didn't talk too long or too.
No, you didn't. You got across all the news that we can use. So thank you very much, Gary, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
All right, bye-bye, Joe. Thank you.
Hey, listeners, remember that Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine is also a radio show bringing different content to you on WATD 95.9 FM and streaming live on 959watd.com on Monday nights at 8 o'clock East Coast time. The beauty of the radio show is you can call into the studio at 781-837-4900 and get a mini reading. So tune in on Monday nights at 8. Hey listeners, hope you enjoyed this episode on Vedic Astrology. Remember to download this episode and all the episodes of Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, and please give us a 5-star review. This is Jill Jardine of Cosmic Scene signing off and sending you Vedic yogic healing vibrations through the quantum field.